down to business.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Oh my goodness. Hello everyone and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings broadcast and I am your humble phone handling host, Rick. So, there were so many topics that I probably could have picked up on for this week. And I had so much stuff running through my head that I decided that I would do something that I haven't done in a while. And so tonight I'm going to open up the phone lines. I want you all to call in and let's chat. Pick a subject, whatever it is that you are interested in. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's talk a little bit about it. And of course, if that doesn't work out, well, I'll try and fill in with a couple of ideas and things that have been going on for this week. Okay, so first things first, let me go ahead and get this out of the way. My good friends, of course, because I am a ambassador for them, my good friends here at the NCCA. So, if you honor and value our God-given right to self-defense by owning a firearm and would appreciate joining a community of like-minded individuals who welcome firearm owners of all experience levels, then you should consider joining the NCCA. The National Concealed Carry Association, NCCA, exists to serve the Second Amendment community by providing a nationwide network of Second Amendment advocates, offer elite self-defense and concealed carrying training from the nation's top instructors, and provide rock-bottom prices on the best selection of gear and accessories. NCCA members enjoy shopping thousands of products with zero dealer markup, unlimited free shipping, and keep more money in their pockets with zero credit card processing fees. The NCCA encourages safe, responsible concealed carry and celebrates those who are brave enough to protect not only themselves, but their families and their communities. If this sounds good to you, visit the National Concealed Carry Association.com to join today. And as a special bonus, use my affiliate link, ncca.r as in Romeo, E as in Echo, F as in Frank, R as in Romeo, .cc /Rick02, RICK02, to receive a code for 10% off any purchase at National Concealed Carry Association.com. Once again, use my affiliate link, ncca.refr.cc /Rick, RICK02, and receive a code for 10% off your purchase at the National Concealed Carry Association.com. That's National Concealed Carry Association, all spelled out, all one word, .com. Visit National Concealed Carry Association.com to find out more today. All right, and thank you, NCCA, for allowing me to be a brand ambassador. Okay, so tonight, Tonight. So, normally I get into the studio and I sit down and I prepare everything, get stuff going. But since tonight I'm going to be basically at your guys' whim, I pretty much kind of skipped that. And so, unfortunately, I am a little bit behind the power curve. But let me go ahead and give the phone number. Let me just see. Let me switch over to that. Okay, so the call-in number for anyone listening on the audio portion of the program, is 360-309-0997. That's 360-309-0997. All right, so come at me with whatever you want. I mean, this is, I watch a conservative radio talk show host by the name of Mark Kay. He is out of Florida, but he is also nationwide. And what he does is he does a thing called Whatever You Want Wednesday. And I've been kind of thinking about that. But one thing that I haven't been able to figure out is what to call it. So that's hence the reason why the question mark off of Super Saturday. because of the fact that I can't really find anything, or I haven't really been able to come up with a really catchy catchphrase for, my subscribers to be calling in, unless it's Subscriber Saturday, maybe, or I don't know. Anyway, so the point being, of course, is that yeah, it's basically anything you want. So I did want to bring up a couple of things realistically before I do anything else. One of which is there was a gentleman here in a local state here within Seattle that went to a Mariners game, and he basically was kind of copying or carrying on a new tradition with some flags in the Mariners game stadium. And what he had done is he went and bought 13 seats and brought 13 American flags to drape over them in honor of the 13 service members who passed and got killed in Afghanistan. And it's a touching gesture. Apparently, the in Atlanta with I guess it might be the Braves. Somebody did that down there, and so he was interviewed and told the entire story about how he had gotten into the park, and the first thing he ran across was a problem with the bag because, obviously in T-Mobile Park, they want you to bring in clear plastic bags, and he had a paper bag, and so they took his bag away from him. And so then he was walking around and he went into the team store to try and get a clear plastic bag. But when he went into the team store, they refused giving him a plastic bag, saying that there was a bag shortage or something along those lines. That's his claim. Don't really know for sure what was going on there. But then he was going up to the one of the beer one of the beer places, the beer restaurants or whatever. And while he was going up there, he ran into a couple of people who are considered ambassadors for the park, and they wear yellow jackets and that kind of stuff. And so he ran into them, and they asked him, kind of what he was doing, carrying 13 flags with him, and he explained everything to them. And one of the ambassadors went down to the team store and was able to get him a bag, and so they put the flags in the bag, so then he was able to go up and get to his seats. Well, right around the sixth inning or so, he went ahead and laid out the flags, one for each of the 13 seats. And it just so happens that 13 seats encompasses an entire row within the section of center field that he was in. And several people asked him kind of what he was doing and why he was doing it. They usually don't like doing things like that within the park. And especially if you're like hanging a sign or something along those lines, and security will come and get you. But security came by and he explained what he was doing, and they allowed it. They let it go. In fact, one of the security officers said, and this is coming from him, but basically told him that he was a 20-year Navy vet, and that he would be welcome, meaning the guy laying out the flags would be welcome anytime. So several of the people that were surrounding him helped him keep the flags down, because apparently it gets a little windy out in center field in T-Mobile Park. And so they helped him by keeping the flags down in the wind and that kind of stuff. And then after the game, he was folding them up, and several Coast Guard service members came by. And because for those of you that don't know, there is a Coast Guard station here in the Seattle city. And so they went and helped him out by folding up the flags, helping him fold up the flags for him. So it was a very touching tribute, realistically. And, I don't know what happened to our country to where things like that are ridiculed and that kind of stuff. But coming up on September 11th next week, of which I will have a September 11th episode memorializing the September 11th attack on the Twin Towers in the World Trade Center. But it's things like that right after 9/11, I mean, that really happened. It really did. America got together. We all came together. We we did what we had to do. We were all as one unit. And now today, seeing all the divisiveness that is going on within the country, just between, Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and leftist liberals, I mean, it's really sad. It is really sad to be thinking about that and understanding that and thinking about all of the things that are going on within today's world and what's happening. So the phone number again, for those of you on audio, is 360-309-0997. Once again, that's 360-309-0997 to call in. And we'll talk about whatever you want. If you bring in a different subject or whatever, let's go ahead and talk about it. Something, maybe you have a burning question for me. I don't know. But anyway, so let's see. Another thing that occurred this week, I think, in terms of things that are happening. Well, I don't know if anybody knows about Joe Rogan. Well, Joe Rogan got the C-19, and he announced it. And the funny thing about it was that he was very open and honest about going to the hospital, getting a doctor to prescribe his treatment. And a couple of things that came out of the treatment was that, first of all, he was given a bunch of vitamins. He did some monoclonal, which I think is the antibody treatment. Ron DeSantis has been opening a bunch of those locations in Florida. But then the other thing that he did is he, Joe Rogan, back to Joe Rogan here, he was prescribed ivermectin. And so for those of you that don't know, yes, ivermectin is associated with livestock parasitic treatment. Okay. I use ivermectin in my horses for worms and parasites. And it's dosed based off of weight for the animals. And he took a lot of flack for that, because ivermectin has actually been kind of playing in the news here recently with regards to whether or not it is a viable C-19 prophylaxis. Prophylactis, preventative measure, let's say, for the C-19 virus. Now, I am not a doctor. I'm no, obviously, but I find it very odd, realistically, that that there is only two methods that you can fight the C-19. One is masking, and the second one is vaccines. Now, I'm not saying that the vaccines are not effective. I'm not saying that they're not safe. There's plenty of evidence, plenty of information out there. You can look it up yourselves to find that. Okay. If you choose to get the vaccine, get the vaccine. If you've already gotten it, great. The thing about it is, though, is that I'm very curious as to why other methods of things such as HCQ, IVM, any other treatments, the monoclonal treatments are not being emphasized as well. Because it seems like, as far as like the mainstream media is concerned, they're just going to go ahead and put together whatever it is that they want to try and fight this. Well, the funny thing about it is that a bunch of mainstream outlets picked up on the fact that ivermectin is a horse dewormer, a very popular horse dewormer, and they immediately said that ivermectin, IVM, is only for livestock. Well, the funny thing about it is that it's been actually approved for use in humans since 1996. You can go ahead and fact check me on that. That is the case. It has been approved for humans. In fact, Africa has been using it. The FDA itself approved it in 1996 for parasites for use in humans, and also something called river blindness as well. So it's been used for, quite a few years within humans. Now, granted, keep in mind, I'm not advocating, and I don't want you to even think about going to your local feed store or whatever and getting ivermectin and taking it. That is just as stupid as going and drinking, fish tank cleaner. That is dumb. That is incredibly stupid. However, that being said, going to your doctor and getting a prescription for it may not be a bad idea, provided that it seems to work. And the funny thing about it is that there's been some reports coming out from places such as India and Japan that have highlighted the use of IVM for treatment within COVID. Now, just because we're not using it here doesn't necessarily mean that it isn't a possibility as a treatment. Now, I did take a look at it, and I looked it up, and there's another possible positive movement toward maybe using this as as a prophylactic for the C19. And essentially what it is they took some of it and they put it into test tubes with C19, and they found that the IVM does do some blocking in terms of its in terms of the C19 being able to replicate itself. And so essentially what ends up happening is you end up with lower viral loads because of the IVM blocking. Now, there is some suggestion that the IVM has to be at a dose that is significantly stronger than what has been approved. And if that's the case, well, that's the case. I mean, that's kind of what happens, but that's what we do. We as intelligent humans, we go around and we intelligently look at things and try to come up with different ways to combat things like illnesses and that kind of stuff. So, diseases and try and combat things like, drunk driving as an example. The invention of the breathalyzer inside your vehicle prevents people who have a history and a habit of drunk driving from drunk driving again, or at least starting their car anyway. So, that's the key about humans is we have the ability to innovate. And innovation is an incredible amount of forward progress when it comes to breakthrough things that normally wouldn't necessarily be thought of, but somebody goes, you know what, this worked pretty good against something else, and so hey, let's give it a try. And so that's where, I'm getting a little frustrated. Me personally, I'm getting a little frustrated with the idea that that this could not be, absolutely cannot be a possibility. Now, it seems kind of odd that the FDA has come out and said that IVM is not for humans. It's very strange. And the reason why I say that is because of the fact that they actually, without doctors or anything being a part of it, in order for you to come in and migrate, IVM is in a small dose is given to refugees and migrants coming into this country. It is a requirement for them to take prior to coming into the country. And the reason for that is because of the fact, not due to C19. I'm not going to, pull your leg on that one, but it's due to the fact that it takes care of parasites in humans. And so, the other funny thing about it, and this has been kind of floating around there too, but in 2015, the makers of IVM, not IBM, but IVM, India Victor Mike, the makers of IVM were actually given a Nobel Peace Prize in medicine for IVM, and they called it the wonder drug. They called it a wonder drug. So why would they call it a wonder drug and give it a Nobel Peace Prize if it wasn't safe? And it actually even says in the Nobel Peace Prize, it talks about how it is being used in humans very effectively for a bunch of different diseases and parasites in particular. So, I'm sorry, but I'm kind of at the point now where I just sort of want to see more than just the poke being advocated for. Because we also have things in just before I continue, let me give the number 360-309-0997. Once again, 360-309-0997. So one of the other things that we have that's out there as well is the fact that a lot of organizations seem to be like against other prophylaxis or prophylactics, whichever one you want to go. They both kind of mean the same thing. They're both, just so you understand, I'm not talking about condoms, although condoms basically fit within the definition. The definition is prevention of something, whatever that is. And what I'm talking about is the C19. I'm not talking about pregnancy, although we might get to that. But anyway. So, another thing that we have kind of tossed around is, of course, HCQ. Now, the interesting about HCQ in comparison to IVM is there's actually been a couple studies that have actually presented themselves to where IVM might be more effective than HCQ against C19. So again, kind of wrapping this up, bringing this back to Joe Rogan, he's taken a lot of flack for the prescription that his doctor gave him for IVM. Now, one other thing that you may not know is that a judge in New York had to order a doctor to comply with a patient's wife's request to use IVM. And the funny thing about it was that after that happened, after the judge intervened and said, no, go ahead and prescribe like the wife asked, the patient actually got better. So, again, even if these are anecdotal evidence, it's still, considering the fact that we're dealing with what could be a potentially deadly pandemic virus that we have running around, we might as well get used to hanging around because of the fact that, guess what? They have now discovered and have named a new variant that has shown up. It's called the MU variant. And apparently it's shown up in Los Angeles. So obviously we're going to have this thing kind of hang around with us for a while. It's going to be here for a little bit. So we might as well learn to live with it. I mean, seriously, we might as well. And that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to use things such as masks or even the poke, because there's been some studies that have come out of Israel. So for those of you that don't know, there are estimates that Israel has about 80% completely vaxxed. Okay. And if that's the case, then the case rate that is rising right now within Israel, there's actually a chart that I saw. I'm not going to bring it up because obviously I'm not prepared for it. This is just kind of fill in time in case somebody wants to call in. Speaking of calling in, 360-309-0997 is the number. 360-309-0997. You can call in and we can talk about whatever it is that you want. So one of the things that is out there is a study in Israel, and the study in Israel is looking at the case counts and how they've been graphed over time. And it seems kind of weird, but the unvaxxed rate and the those that have gotten the poke twice and are considered full, their rates are roughly going up at the same rate in terms of the chart. Now, granted, there aren't as many on the ones that have been considered, fully poked, but the ones that aren't, those guys, they're not that far off. I mean, and it seems sort of weird that you think about it with the push that's out there with the poke as being the push for it. This is a case and a situation where, um, a country that is almost 80% vaxxed is having case rates in both those that have been fully poked and those that have not. Um, Another anecdotal thing that I've seen floating around, don't know if it's true, but there was a cruise ship, and even if it is true, I mean, even if it can be proven true, it's very interesting that not a lot of people are aware of this. But there was a cruise ship that had a bunch of cases pop up while they were out on the water. And the funny thing about that was that the cruise ship required having had the full set of pokes before you could even get on the cruise ship. And so if that's the case, then why, and this thing is so great, why are they getting sick? Now the argument, but from like Ben Shapiro and several others, they're like, well, the reason being is that it's not 100% effective. It never was 100% effective. And therefore, these cases are what are considered breakthrough cases. And being breakthrough cases, they essentially are, what they're expected, but they're not being put in the hospital for it. Well, kind of interesting, but there have been people who have gotten it and have gone to the hospital, even though they've been poked. One of them recently, Oscar De La Hoya, did a tweet where he had gone to the hospital. Now, completely understand the man has had, several other health issues. So that could be contributing factors. I am not saying that it is 100% sure that the reason why he got the C19 virus is due to the fact that the poke is not effective. Okay. Don't want to even go there. But the reality of it is that your chances of getting it do get lowered with the poke. So if you choose to get it, please go ahead and get it. That is your choice as a ambassador of individual liberty. That is entirely your choice to be able to do that. So, all right. Once again, 360-309-0997, 360-309-0997 to call in and talk to me. Anyway, so that again, all of these things are, anecdotal. They're unconfirmed reports, but it just seems very weird that all of these things are happening and yet nobody is really talking about them. Nobody is really pushing to understand that there is more out there other than the face diaper and the poke. Now, another thing as far as the face diaper is concerned, a lot of people are fighting back. And you see it all the time in the news. A lot of people are fighting back over our kids being having to wear these things in schools. And to be honest, there have been a couple studies that have come out from other countries. And the funny thing about it is, like the UK doesn't mask their kids. Anyone under the age of, I think, 10 is unmasked. That could be lower. Don't quote me on the age, but Australia is anyone under the age of 6. They're like the Danes, the Danish, they didn't even mask their kids and they went to school full time and they didn't have like an overwhelming, push for these, for caseloads and that kind of stuff. Most of the time, apparently based on the available information, most of the time the children will only get basically cold-like symptoms. The total number, the entire total number. Now keep in mind, 1 is too many, but the entire total number as of last week of deaths in the 17 and younger age group was a total of less than 500 out of a subpopulation of roughly 75 million. So if you look at that, I mean, the kids are not necessarily at risk with this COVID virus, with the C19. Um, they are not as risk factor available as the flu in their particular case. And so, going and doing these mandates for schools seems to be a little backwards, a little odd. And all I'm asking is for people to actually open their minds and be a little more receptive to alternate information rather than just jumping on the bandwagon for this. Now, I myself have ran the numbers according to the CDC, and the last check that I did, which was roughly last week, the last check that I did is that this thing has a greater than 99% survivability. You can check that. Go to the CDC, go to Johns Hopkins. Both of them have great websites where they are tracking deaths and case rates. And basically, the way that I did it is if you take the case rate and divide that into the death rate for the number of deaths, you will come out with a percentage. And this percentage is basically 0.017, roughly. I mean, it's changed. It's gone from like 0.166 to 0.17, that kind of stuff. And realistically, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to understand why we are looking at this. Yes, that doesn't include all the people that have gotten sick and have like really bad. I mean, this literally is a very bad virus. You're going to get sicker than normal for sure. And again, I'm not arguing against getting the poke, getting fully poked or anything else, but it seems a little odd that they're now advocating, especially even in Israel, for an example, they're advocating getting a booster, a third booster within 6 months of being fully poked. So what does that tell you? Well, that kind of tells you that maybe effectiveness does wear off over time. I mean, let's be honest, it just does. Okay. And we're seeing that now. We're also seeing studies that have come out and they have said that high viral loads are out. In the fully poked versus the not so fully poked. That there is some potential that maybe being fully poked isn't quite as great of a thing as a not so fully poked person who's had COVID before, by the way. And has what's considered natural immunity. So none of this is making any sense. Just isn't. I'm sorry. Just the common sense factor on this particular item has left the building like Elvis. Anyway. All right. So the phone number 360-3090-997 if you want me to stop ranting about the generic things that I have put together. I'm probably going to leave the stream up for about another couple of minutes, and we'll see if anybody decides to join here. But, all right. So, hey, national football, or well, not national football, but football is back. And there was a example of freedom in Tennessee. I saw photos that were out that had, I think it's the Tennessee, God, I can't think of their names. Anyway, it's a college in Tennessee. They had close to 102 or somewhere in the realm of 102,000 people in their stadium. That was incredible. People are wanting to get back to their lives. They're wanting to get back into things like that. Now, I am not a college football fan, at least not the American hand egg that, we Americans call football, because I am an American, but I personally, I'm a little more pulled towards soccer, although, I have chosen not to watch for my own personal reasons. But, be that as it may, it's heartening. It is really heartening to see, young people getting back to what they were doing long before this whole thing hit, long before C19 hit. And it was great to see those photos. It really was. It was great to see the videos of all of those young people going out and enjoying their lives. Because realistically, that's all we can do. We have no um, knowledge or understanding as to when we are going to no longer be here. And whether or not there is an afterlife, that is something that you have to kind of take on for yourselves. But the fact of the matter is that we need to be able to live life to the fullest. And being as, these particular things that are going on, whether you like it or not, the fact is America is free. We have always been free since our inception, and we will continue being free since our inception. Hopefully. And that, my friends, is actually my final Whiskey Musings thought for the evening. Do me a favor, click the subscribe button on YouTube and on Spreaker. Subscribe to the podcast. And also do me a favor and, make sure that you at least check out the Whiskey Musings logo gear store. We have a gator that I can tell you is highly recommended by one particular Captain Unicorn. And just go and check it out. I've got sweatshirts, I've got t-shirts, I've got phone cases, I've got all kinds of stuff there. Just go and check it out. It is store.whiskeymusings, all one word and spelled out, .online. That's store.whiskeymusings, all spelled out, all one word. And whiskey is with the K-E-Y, the American spelling, .online. Well, thank you for listening. I appreciate it. Sorry that I didn't connect with anybody on the phone, but hey, you know what? Sometimes that's just the way it is. All right. Have a great Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you all next week on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Good night, everybody.